Cool. So, dun 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 dun. Welcome everybody. This is Talking Shit with Sid, the first episode. Gonna be a weird journey. Just gonna be me, friends, interesting people, anybody that's interested in coming and talking shit with Sid. This new venture with Sid Howe Presents, we're starting to do a lot more things, not just concerts and festivals. The pandemic coming on kind of put a crunch on that, and like I was already telling you, Tim, I don't really know what else I'm going to do. So we're pivoting. We're trying to stay relevant, just trying to create content and stay in that world. And here we go. Thanks for joining in. This first guest is going to be a good longtime friend, Tim Sweetwood, creator of Shaky Knees Festival, Shaky Beats, Shaky Boots, See Here Now, Innings, Exit 111, and a slew of national sold-out shows through premier venues throughout the nation that I could go on forever on. And glad to have been a longtime friend and a longtime role model. So, stoked to have you here.
Well, honored for the first episode, man. Come on.
Well, dude, I wanted to go big. I wanted to go,
physically big. Maybe not,
I was literally joking the other day. I was like, these little chairs. I don't know how Tim's going to ride in these little fuckers. Let's see how that goes. So, like I said, with me starting this whole venture, a lot of it is because of COVID and, losing shows. And, one of the things that's helped me get by this and try not to get too caught up on, I personally had to cancel a tour. I canceled my Slaughter Q this year. There was another festival that we had in the back burners that we were getting ready to release for the coming 2021. Every bit of that's been kiboshed, as you know, same as your stuff and everything else. What can anybody think positively about the future? How far are we looking right in this minute?
Good question. The one thing to say is that nobody has a crystal ball, right?
Yeah.
And that's the problem. And hopefully, if they did, towards the end of this year, maybe it becomes a little more clear and it's not as foggy as it is now. But an on the record answer, if you will, is I think the second half of next year feels really good for a return to, events of some size and stature. And I think two things will happen. One is there's like vaccine / therapeutics play that makes it a little easier to do what we do in events. Or, if a lot of that doesn't come along, society gets, moves along and gets so impatient that they're willing to adjust and do events with some guidelines and not be so one way or the other where people are against them. It's okay.
You're already seeing folks kind of trying to do that with little different versions, be it car type deal, driving and not getting out of your car, staying immediately around your car.
Yeah.
And I seen somebody, I think it was in the UK, did the little corralled
the
mini
pods.
Yeah. Oh boy, I bet that didn't work out too well.
Yeah. I think one of the biggest problems is it doesn't matter who you are or what you believe in life. I wish that there was a little bit more clarity so people could lean on facts, right? And that's the thing, is people are leaning on opinions. So it's you've got events like Sturgis where it's it's blown wide open and literally people, I have some friends that went and worked it, because they're just looking for work in the event industry, and they were wearing masks and almost got a little chastised because they're wearing masks, right?
Really?
So it's still that, it's still that kind of there's too much political vibe and feel to it, and I wish it was a little bit...
Which has been very strange to me. I keep having conversations with people that are in the medical field, friends of mine, and just how odd is it that you can look around and say people that do and don't have masks, you can assume their political affiliation. Just, it's so odd to me off of something like that.
Right. I mean, it's kind of the whole, and we've been friends long enough so we can always talk to it, is you and I are people who don't see black, white, brown, purple, green. So shouldn't that be the same way with someone's, affiliation of who they want to be and the protection they want to have? It's
just, you would think so, but it's added this weird layer of, you're not going to tell me what to do, instead of just common sense. I don't want to get sick. I don't want you to get sick.
That's it.
And it's just being that cut and dry. It's layer of, I don't know what you call it. It's just kind of so odd to me that they would be taking that way. 1 second, let me make sure this camera didn't drop. This is the first time I've done this without a helper, so
no problem.
We go too far. Let me double check this. All right, I did not fuck up, folks. Oh, so yeah, like I said, so it's really odd to me. And the few people that have already tried to do some shows and stuff, I've seen them get ridiculed and a lot of backlash for how dare you try to do this right now when what's going on. So I don't know.
It's tough. I think you hit a nice word of like people have lost a little bit of that common sense, right? So it's like have the common sense, and not only the common sense, like a little bit of like just this self-respect, right? If someone believes in a certain way and they want to wear a mask and be sanitized, like respect that when you're interacting with that person. And if they don't, that's their prerogative, but be respectful either way.
Yeah, because it doesn't really cost you anything to wear one. And if you get these lightweight masks, there's been, I'm guilty of it. When the quarantine first went down, I walked into a business and a woman scolded me pretty harshly, and I hit the roof kind of going, fuck you, bitch. You talking to me like that out there? I was about to buy this big, nice piece of furniture. So, but after I calmed down back in the car, I was like, maybe I was a little dickish on that.
Right.
But still, she should have fucking not been so auntie.
Right. Please goes a long way, doesn't it?
Yes, it does with me for some reason. So, are you trying to do any kind of pivoting with anything, being that tip shows in the normal fashion are going away?
So we've pivoted everything to the second half of next year. So traditional events like a couple that you mentioned, like innings or shaky knees and stuff like that, those are going to be in the fall.
So for the most part, the same lineup, everything for the most part?
No, actually, well, it depends. So like a See Here Now, for example, that one was the same lineup. I was able to get Pearl Jam back and Billy Idol and a couple others. And then actually a few weeks from now, we're going to add a whole second round of artists that are going to fill the gaps of artists that didn't reconfirm, right? Yeah. But a Shaky Knees is a good example where like that's a total rebooking from the start. There may be a few, like maybe 10 or something that come, but it's like that lineup had been out there so long. Like the Shaky Knees, all this went down, no joke, 45 days before the festival happened, right? So that one, for example, was really close.
It had been in the books for a moment.
Yeah, and had been on sale since 2019. So I didn't really want to say it gets a little stale, right?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. I want some excitement. Like, if I release that new lineup this fall or next spring, like I want some excitement around it. Not like, oh, there's that same lineup that I've known for a year.
For 2 years at that point. Yeah. That makes sense.
But in, some of the new stuff I have planned, that won't come out till 2022 because that's got a little bit more of a security blanket.
That's what I was about to say. How do you go to start working on anything in 2021 with the confidence that you're not wasting your time?
You may be wasting your time,
exactly.
It takes some self-motivation, but those conversations are happening. And what I think one of the most interesting parts about next year, because I really do believe it'll come back in some form or fashion, is each market's different, right? So it's like Asbury Park, New Jersey has a city council and a mayor that may treat something completely different than the mayor of Atlanta does, and that's fine. You just have to pivot to what that is. So it'll be really interesting if we're in the fall of 21 and some metropolis is like, oh yeah, 100% capacity, do it, and some metropolis is still like, we're at 50%.
But that gets really weird when you're routing a tour out or putting together a national tour and you can only play certain markets with certain capacities and other. That's really going to change the dynamic of how these budgets are put together and how people are buying and selling shows all the way around. It's really changing, because I've had so many people ask me, Sid, what are y'all going to do at the Masquerade? And I was like, well, truthfully, I don't know. The ball is still in the air, and like you said, that crystal ball thing, no one knows. But I've had people ask me everything, are you going to only be relying on locals to try and do limited capacity shows in heaven? Are you going to try to bring in larger groups and play a more intimate show with a higher ticket price? And I was like, I really don't know yet. I don't know, it's that those are some things that all sound good in theory, to get going on the table. But
I think the one cool thing that everybody can agree on, and we're already seeing it a little bit, is, and it's a cool thing to have some a little bit of churning buzz inside, is the demand's going to be there. So for the short term, when it does come back, the demand's there, and it doesn't matter what genre you're into or whether you're talking comedy or a festival or a hard ticket show at a venue. people want to go see stuff live. I mean, I think that even goes to, the Decatur Beer Festival or something.
Yeah, people are chomping at the bit.
They're chomping at the bit. The only thing that's going to hurt longer term and not short term is we're still in this massive economic downturn. So it's like there's demand, but
they want to go, but can they go whenever it opens back
Can
up?
someone afford to go to 4 shows a week? No.
Yeah.
But are they definitely going to go to 1 show a week? Yes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
The true grit fans that have always attended shows they're going to double down as much as they can, like I said, of what their budget will allow them to after these constraints have come off. But if they have a place to go watch shows.
Yeah, that one's, I mean, it seems like it doesn't matter if you're independent or not, or you're closer tied to like a more corporate, company like an AEG or Live Nation being your parent company or whatever it is. They seem to be like, that's 100% collective, is everybody's supporting that, right? And they should, right? Because it's like, doesn't matter, again, what level of artist you are, you come from that independent side normally when you start out. Like the majority of your 300 cap venues are quote unquote independent or mom and pop venues. So like everybody should support that. And I think for the most part they are. So I think that unfortunately the music industry and some of those like relief packages and finances were just not number one on the list, because it's like you have a hurricane coming through like this week, or like you have a worldwide pandemic of literally day-to-day health for someone. So like that independent music venue isn't number one on the government's list, but I think it'll get done in the long term.
Especially seeing a lot of European countries are passing their entertainment packages and stuff, and there's lots of people. You're seeing the forms going around online. Everybody's signing the petitions together, and everyone's contacting Congress people and explaining to them how many people in the entertainment industry that we have here in the country. I think maybe a lot of those folks have underestimated, and it's just not their bag, baby.
100%. One of the things that always despised me about the U.S., because I was blessed and lucky enough to travel so much, is we're one of the only countries in the world that doesn't have an ambassador of the arts, which always blew my mind. So like when I went on tours and many, many years ago and stuff like that, it's like you'd go through Germany and you go through some town and it'd be Leipzig or something like that. And it'd be this old classic venue, but there was modern equipment. And I always used to ask, how do you get that? And it's like, there's an ambassador for the arts, and most countries have grants and different things that come out on an annual or a biannual basis to help support that. And the U.S. doesn't, which is just really strange, because as diverse as a country we are, you would think there would be an ambassador of the arts to help, someone that's always cheerleading for it.
When we were doing a little run with Legion X and teamed up with a band out of Canada, and we were in conference, they were mentioned us that Canada's footing is our tour support.
Oh yeah.
And we're like, wait, what? And they're like, yeah, no, we filed for some grants 8-9 months ago and told them we wanted to go on a U.S. tour and this and that, and they gave us like $10,000 for food and gas and just typical that was the tour support.
Yeah, I managed a band, the Deep Dark Woods, from Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, and I became an expert in Canadian grants. So it was like one of those things where like, you travel to the U.S., they are getting, no joke, like $1,500 a show. You travel to Europe, they got like $2,500 a show. So it was pretty cool, where it's like you work with agents to get you these tours, and they're like, oh man, there's a support tour available, but they're only paying about $350 per show. I was like, get it. Because I can go get grants
to subsidize
it, and it was fine, which is like, again, where is that? Because it does two things. One, it's great for the artists, but two, it's great for that country. It's more Canadians. The example we're using is like spreading the Canadian culture around the world, and that's a good thing.
Yeah.
So
that's a really cool notion that, I don't know why we've never had. Do you think it's that our Congress and the people that are the lawmakers and the people that would be behind putting that together, that they're just clueless to the notion of how big this is here and the amount of people that are behind the scenes?
Probably a little bit of that, right? Like, I mean, and I don't know if I'd go as far as clueless, because I think everybody realizes that like one of, the biggest, leisure activity that almost always comes into play is music, whether you're like sitting at your lake house or whether you're in the basement playing a board game or whether you're going to a concert, there's always music involved. So I don't know the true answer, but I think it's probably a little bit more of that like from, tenure to tenure of each president, they just have different beliefs, and maybe one started it and then it got lost by the next guy or whatever.
Right.
But it's a shame, because I think there would be so many of these cool tenured like music professionals from over the years of like imagine if 20 years ago BB King was the ambassador of the arts for the US. It's like, that's cool.
Well,
man.
nowadays, if we had that, I'm seeing so many musicians that I come up with that are getting laid to waste by life and obligations and things like that, and talents that are going away because of life. And if they would have had some help along the way to help facilitate this thing, i.e. grants and stuff like that, there's a good chance that a lot of these talents would still be going and have been able to reach that next level. But so many people can't get at it just because of the changing of the industry. Now, thank God, I think the internet, the social streaming and stuff is finally coming to a level that the payment scale, I'm still not in love with it, but I see how to make money. I've talked with people that are making money, that are doing things. It's, like I said, it's not beautiful, but I know bands that have been making, $500 to $1,000 a month, local bands, streaming every month throughout the pandemic. So that did not exist when Legion X was going.
That's
right. And we had to
life. You know what it is for me is life shouldn't be as stressful when you're going after your dreams, right? So like me and you are two examples of like, you're independent. Your parents were like, is that really what you want to do in life? And you go out on a limb, you do something independently, you're learning from friends, you're learning from others, but it's more stressful than getting, something that's a little bit more like in the corporate world or something. And it's like, there shouldn't be that stress. I mean, like recent artists that we've lost, like, Justin Townes Earl and Riley the other day from Power Trip, it's like, that, Power Trip, great example. I mean, that band fucking live is like, you know what I mean? And it's like he obviously was succumbing to some sort of stress in his life. Who knows what the angle was, but like there was some stress that was overpowering him because, again, whether it was, financial, what are we going to do? Like, I need to support a family. I don't have the money coming in anymore. What is it? And there's no, back to our point of the discussion, is there's no national voice speaking for us. Right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I hope that we can find something with that, and this is an avenue to shine light on it to get us somewhere like that. It's so odd. The future of live music in general, though, I think we have breached a new day. I don't think that it is at all coming back. Like what I just seen a thing of today. Somebody posted, a marketing guy, friend of mine. What worked 10 years last decade. What worked yesterday, what worked an hour ago is not valid in what's happening right now. Yeah. And it's I sat back and was like, God damn it, I hate it. Yeah. You start just I felt like I was just now starting to be able to ride that wave and stand up.
Yeah, and you got to have it sounds weird, but you got to have a positivity to accepting the change, right? Because whether... The worst part about this one is it was a pandemic, and so like people are literally like dying from it, which sucks to think about.
Yeah, it wasn't just like an industry change, and then there was also the social aspect of it.
Yeah, but like to your point, like when streaming was first introduced, like people didn't pay attention to it, they didn't believe in it, but it's like look what it's done, right? I mean, I was talking to someone earlier today, which was fascinating, where they're like, the changes that we're going to see are no different than a lot of, think about 9/11, where before 9/11, you could walk up with your girlfriend to the airport gate and she could drop you off at the airport gate, and it was no big freaking
wave
deal.
At the mirror, at the glass, as the plane.
Yeah, whatever. Like that doesn't exist. So things are always going to change, and you got to, fortunately and unfortunately, you got to adapt to the change. So, for whatever it is, or someone listening, it's like success is going to come for those people that adapt to that change and what that change becomes. And, to be honest too, this time has, like, for me, it gives me perspective, and you're the same boat where like, I tend to over the years, like overwork myself, where it's like, the 80-hour work weeks and did you have to do it? And this time has taught me a little bit more of reflection and can like even more creative juices come if like I'm slowing down a little bit on a day-to-day basis. Like I don't know if you saw this, but I thought it was brilliant is so Coheed and Cambria, like, and the things that bands are doing, right, is like, I don't want to get too far away from music because that's always what we've had in common, but is like Coheed and Cambria did Jesse's Girl 2.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's awesome.
And it's like, that is fucking brilliant.
No,
like fucking brilliant. And not only brilliant, they involved Rick Springfield in it, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, that is so cool, but what other time could you do that, right? Like you wouldn't have time. You'd be on tour, or being forced to make this proper album or whatever, but they're like, now bands have and artists have time to like think outside the box, which is super cool.
Well, and been forced to collaborate on other levels or give, like you said, the time allowed it, but then the separation created another angle of how can we do this digital? And then now how do we make this cool versus just me and you in a camera?
Yeah.
And just, it's been really exciting watching the different ways that bands and stuff have done that. But with still going down that trail and talking about, you know, the fact that this has affected the music industry, affected the live show industry, and probably going to be around for a while. Already what was coming on the scene, and I have already seen it, was VR ticket experiences for concerts. Is that anything that anyone's ever approached you about doing at any of your shows?
Yeah, we've talked about it. I mean, it's I think it's there. It's just expensive, right?
To produce?
Yeah, and expensive to produce, but also a little bit expensive for like the home consumer. I mean, maybe the best way to do it too would be through like a lot of like these gaming systems and consoles, right?
Yeah, the
because
PlayStations and all, and that's what I assumed it would be.
Yeah, because they have like, you know, you may have a friend that has that console and has that already, but like it's pretty cool. They're not cheap. We've experimented with it, but you know what you can. I don't know if I 100% believe in it though, because I can't get the sweat. I can't get bumped into someone. I can't get the beer spilled on me
in the chest when they sound that kick drum hits and that thump.
Yeah, right. Like, you know? As much as it sucks getting a beer poured on you, it's like I'd take a beer poured on me right now if it meant we were standing at a live concert, right?
Yeah, exactly. But I keep debating with people, and some people, it's become cool to be a lazy fuck. So, you know, especially with young culture. Oh, I just love, you've seen it a million times, the fake festival flyers that are like, at home a festival, free air conditioning, your couch, Netflix. And it's like, wow, ooh.
Yeah.
Why? That's not my generation. That's not what I wanted. No, I definitely want to go to a festival. And obviously, you know, that's probably why me and you do them and want to do it.
Yeah.
I know the difference between a good one and a bad one. I don't want to go to a bad one that's, you know, all the horror stories and things that happen.
Yeah.
Obviously, but a good festival is the best time in the world.
That's right. Because they're still going to keep doing and that's why I believe more in like the live experience side changing. So by that, I mean, like, again, like, what's a good example? I mean, so you know how you've seen all these, the virtual festivals and all the old look backs at like this performance and that performance. I was looking at one of Daft Punk from like, I think it was 2007 or 2008, right around there when they did like Vegas and Lollapalooza and stuff. And it's like, I remember watching them and I'm like, wow, this is like mind blowing. They were playing inside the pyramid, you know, and it was all lit up a different way. But you watch the video compared to like production from 2019 and it's like, really? It's like, you know, that's an old steel cracker. Right. You know what I mean?
Did y'all shoot that with a baked potato?
Like, exactly. Like, what was that? So it's like, I think that's the stuff that's going on is like more of that live experience, right? Because again, a couch is a couch is a couch, right? Mm-hmm. And like you can't change it and stuff like that. So, you know, I don't know. More of that live experience.
I think it's the live experience, but I think the live experience is going to change too, because I think that VR world is. Have you done much of it at all? Have you picked
just on like a video game console like that and stuff? I mean, I think it's a little too digitized in that sense.
That's about as far as I've went. There's most games are missed, but the few that actually are a hit, and blew me away that I've spoke about this before with other folks that the grant to give that to a consumer and say, hey, here's the beginning. pretty mind-blowing. And what they're saying, the experience is going to be more content that's driven inside that world with more options and things. Like now you can go on like DirecTV sports packages, and if you're watching the game off to the side, there's all these interactive things. Well, it's going to be like that, they're saying, but in the virtual world. Pull this character, the singer, out and set him by himself in your living room and have him performing. Look back at the television for the wide view, but he's standing in life-size form in your living room, and vice versa. And just all these options. And I think that's going to be hard to compete against, especially if things like what's the way to put it? Another pandemic comes out, and there's the reason,
whatever it is,
but the reason to make the live experience of anything more expensive, and then you be the virtual option be cheaper.
Yeah, and I can see that. I mean, I think where it could take a huge change is when they do the like, and again, from a individual's perspective, it would be astronomically expensive, but it'll get there someday. Is like the full bodysuit stuff where
they have
it's
it
like,
now, the haptic suit.
where
they
it's
have
like
that.
You're on a virtual thing, and then like the sensors are going off because someone's tapping you on the shoulder or something like. That's a whole different ballgame too.
Ready Player One status.
That kind of feel.
They say that stuff's coming, and it's so odd to me because it's like getting your hair cut, getting a tattoo, going to a concert. There's certain things that I just don't think can be substituted, and I don't want a substitute version of it. So it's just really odd to me, the amount of people that you hear talking about it and the amount of effort that's heading that direction.
Right.
When going back to the people that you spoke with and talking about expensive, was it going to did it have to be essentially proprietary stuff that would be a brand headset that the consumer would be using that's in line with who was providing your stuff?
And I mean, right, like that's some of the stuff, right? Like it's like we all have smartphones, but there's an element of a smartphone that works for everybody, right? So it's like there's a different brand. So I just don't know if they're all they are far enough along to make the different pieces work, right?
Be so compatible it's like, along different platforms.
You have a Sony headset, but you have, I'm making it up, the Nike bodysuit. And it's like, are they talking to each other and some of that kind of stuff?
I don't know that deep yet.
Yeah, there's a lot more smart people out there than me. So we'll let them.
We'll see. I will take the ride when it comes out, and I'll fuck with it and all that. But like I'm with you. You spill a little beer on me. Let me smell the food trucks in the air.
You can't, and even to the ability of like you can meet people at a festival, but like that virtual world, you can hide behind something. So you can meet people online, but it's just not the same.
I've been such an outgoing person. That's never been. I hear people that seems to be a calling factor why they like the internet world and being out there and the possibilities of VR. It excites a lot of people, but I don't want to hide. I don't know. I've always been.
But there are people that want to do that. So that obviously is a good thing, right? There's the social anxiety of it and all that stuff. And again, much respect to all those people that don't have the ability to, in their mind, be out as like you and I are social guys at the end of the day, and we can interact with people. And there's a lot of people that can't. So God bless them, and hopefully these technologies like work for them better in that space, right? So
it's always a weird one. That
yeah.
So what next? What happened with Shaky Beats? Why did you not bring Shaky Beats back this year?
That one was really based on what and I see him and I've been to him, like the EDCs of the world and all that kind of stuff is like where I do those festivals, it couldn't be created in a way I wanted to create it, right? So it's like that world was meant to be louder, go later at night, like all that kind of stuff. So it's like the confines of downtown Atlanta, if you will,
in a city park,
putting that doesn't work. And then it kind of separated it because the idea of doing back-to-back festivals was to save some infrastructure costs and all that kind of stuff. So it had a fun little ride, and I'm glad I did it. And who knows if it comes back in the future. It's a fun brand. And, of course, whenever these things go away, people beg for them to come back. So it's like It's just, you know, doing those in a successful manner seems to be at like massive stadiums or, you know, EDC Vegas, for example, is at the race car track in Vegas, and you can go till 6 a.m. and it's no big deal. So it's like,
it's the rave culture. They want to go late. They wanna keep
which is
on
awesome.
going.
It's just, you know, it's, you know,
a park in a residential area is not going to work.
that's right.
I got you.
That's
That
right.
makes sense.
So there's some of that. So.
I remember with the first year y'all did it, your other partner, I remember him telling me, he's like, no, I've been going around house to house and actually talking to these people and inviting them to the show and playing nice. And he's like, all these people have my phone number. And I was
That's
like,
right.
oh, shit.
Yeah, most people actually like it. You'd be really surprised as like
I'm sure they appreciate it when somebody knocks on their door because they've had plenty of people show up and do those shows.
That's
and
right.
And nobody ever knock on the door and say, hey.
I always think it's funny because whatever city it is, the minority when it comes to like the neighborhood aspect of speaking out speaks way louder than the majority. So like the person that's having the best time and they live 2 blocks away and they can hear it thumping on their porch is not the one speaking loudest online or to everybody. It's like the one person, whether they're old, young, whatever it is, that they're that one person bitching seems to speak the loudest. So
Always. I don't know. I always enjoyed that festival a lot, working at never been a part of rave culture or do anything that was just working at different events, a couple other EDM Atlanta events, but then worked yours every year you had it. Boy, just people watching for days.
oh my God, right? I mean, I think they're all like that. Like that's some of my favorite parts,
Well,
right?
it's just part of the culture with that type of music and everybody. It's just there's a lot of people there. They're ready to have fun. Everybody's dressed up. Lots of butt cheeks hanging out. If you're a butt guy, these are the perfect places to go. You love it. If you're a butt girl, same difference. Whatever's going on. Well, then there's plenty that you don't want to see.
Right.
But so many people so googly eyed and fucked up out of their minds. I have some footage I'll show you when we get off here of a girl at Beats so out of it. Security she ran through the gates at the front. She didn't even get into the festival.
Yeah.
She was messed up before she got there. This was the year I had the broke leg. I'm on the Rascal scooter. She comes busting through the gates, didn't even do normal protocol. She had a bathing suit on, so she wasn't going to be much of a pat down. And I just barely catch it. Boom, she busts through the gates and she's screaming bloody murder. Just, and she's running as slow as anything. And then this little 4'0" little old black lady security guard is chasing her. And both of them are running as slow as anything. And everybody's just looking like, what in the fuck? She's, rave girl's tripping her brains out. Obama's coming after her, can't get her. So I look at the people with me as they pass by, put it in drive, and I start chasing them on my Rascal. And I get down the street and finally get them. Another security guard grabs the girl, puts her on a fence, and is trying to like hold her. Hey, calm down. What are you doing? Calm down. She's flying all over the place. And then she starts saying, fellow ravers, help me, free me. And then she starts grinding on the fence and trying to like fuck the fence. And then about this time, Big Mama, she backs up, like, oh hell no, fuck this little white girl, she's fucking crazy. The security guard, he's a big guy about your size, big tall guy. He's like at this point backing away and trying to hold her from a distance. And she's like, oh, this is not good.
And guess what? You're never going to find that in a VR experience.
That's my point.
There you go.
But with those types of deal and those EDM events, how is there like liability on that? Or is it just your fault? It's the cult, because I mean it has to happen at so many venues and places.
Yeah, I mean
the amount of people. I will say this: the amount of people that are gathered at these events, and the amount of times I see the paramedics come in and out is always astronomically low to what I would expect. So I do think that.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think that's just. Everything kind of gets blown out of proportion because there's a bit of a spotlight on you, right? Yeah. So it's just like, I've known, and been a part of it, like the Bonnaroos and the Lollapaloozas and all that kind of stuff. Is like, the unfortunate side is you get 100,000 people together in everyday life in DeKalb County, just the nature of 100,000 people. On average, there's 10 people dying a day or something like that.
If you just put that in a population,
right? If you just put it in a population,
yeah.
None of a festival. So I actually, funny enough, think a lot of that stuff gets blown out of proportion. And I think that much of the time, and it's kind of cool to talk about this because I think it's a sign of the times of what we need is like those people are never doing anything quote unquote wrong, right? Like they're just like-minded people that just let loose a little differently than the next genre of music does, right? Yeah. Where, you know, I mean, and you and I come from a lot of it, like how metal always gets a bad rap and all that kind of stuff. It's a metal show and like people are so mean there and it's degrading and they're all wearing black and all that kind of stuff. It's like, what does that have to do with anything? Right. It's just they're just all wearing black t-shirts because they're like-minded people that are into the same thing. Right. Like a golfer, everyone golfs and you got to wear a collared shirt because that's required at the golf club, and they're just like-minded people. Right. Like so again, getting back to some of that, I think you make a really good point. Is like I actually think they're really safe environments, and I think it's better when. We've seen so much too when there is accidents or things at a festival. It's like you're with a group of 17 people, or if that person's alone, they're standing in a field. I mean, imagine if somebody during these pandemic times is at home in their basement alone and they're trying to party.
And there's an accident. Way to look at it for sure.
They're in their basement. They're not even with people, right? So it's like festivals in the end of the day are a really safe place, a really cool place to like let loose, and a really cool place to like be respected as well.
Well, it's good when you put it into perspective. Like, that's a good point because any of the times, and this just isn't just at EDM events. This has been at rock events, hip hop events with people drinking too much, whatever their vice has been too much of for the night. But I've had numerous times where somebody's fallen out in front of my bar. But like you said, at least you did it there where there's somebody with a walkie-talkie directly to medics and can call the fire department immediately when you just fell down. That's not going to happen at home.
That's not going to happen. You and I in high school and we go to a party at a friend's house. There's no cops there to watch us. There's no EMT there to watch us. Like, we're actually creating something that's safer than the normal public life.
Yeah, when you put it in that light, you're exactly right. I'd stand on that one for sure. That's an odd one. You thinking about doing any other metal events, or you think metal's going to be on the back burner for a little while?
No, I'd like to, man. I mean, arguably, probably my favorite. Let's take hard ticket shows out of it. I mean, I think my favorite festival physical setup experience to date was Exit 111 last year. I mean, it's like, so I believe so much in all these new festivals that I create where there's an interaction between the music and there's something else, right? Because most of the festivals, even if they're shaky knees down the street and the hours of the event are 11:30 to 11 p.m. at night, most people are either coming in for the weekend or they're all hanging out and they're going to a bar afterwards or they're getting to bed.
Catching the late night shows.
So, so there are 24-hour experiences with festivals. So with that Exit 111, I wanted to create something where like there was always something going on. And knock on wood, we didn't have as many people as we wanted to. We had like, you know, just shy of 20,000 people, which for a first year I don't think is bad. But like, man, there was something for everybody. And I always get excited when like I have the vision of some of these things and they actually come to fruition. I mean, you had a risque Halloween themed Cirque style.
They were amazing.
Yeah, Cirque style show that was free, that was part of the event. You just had to sign up. You got a classic car show going on some of the mornings. You got, you know, if you're a sports dork like me, there's a giant college football, you know, bar that's created, all that kind of stuff. You know, we threw together, you know, the Red Bull dirt bike racers doing jumps and all that kind of stuff. And it's like, oh, and by the way, there's a bunch of fucking really cool bands playing on stages, by the way, right? Like
Guns N' Roses.
Right, exactly. Like, oh, by the way, you know what I mean? So it's like that one, it's like we'll see what the future holds. I'd love to bring that one back or create that kind of vibe at another area of the country. Mm-hmm. So it's like, you know, my metal, any metal roots that I have were, honestly, to give credit to it, were a little bit more mainstream when I was growing up, right? Like it was like, you know, i.e. the Metallicas of the world and all that kind of stuff.
Natural, what's going to happen?
But like my days at the Masquerade gave me like even a greater appreciation for the genre and like a deeper dive into it, right? So that was really cool. So it's like, you know, again, I just think it's cool, and when I'm at home, it's what I listen to half the time, or all that kind of stuff. Like, I've had the privilege of like this new All Them Witches album. I've had it for the last 3 months, and it's like it's on repeat on my thing, and it's like it's my favorite album they've done yet, and has one of my favorite songs that you'll hear. I think it comes out, no joke, like this Friday maybe, or something like that. But like that's an example of like, you know, when you're not in the industry, when you're not at a venue that does a lot of those shows, you're not hip to those bands. Like, you have to have somebody tell you about it. Right? So that kind of stuff is, you know, it's cool. So I'd like to do more of that, because I think the festivals give a chance to push all that shit out and like, you know, give a light to a lot of that kind of stuff. You know, I mean, we had, for that example we were talking, Power Trip was on the same stage as Black Label Society. That's a pretty cool stage. I don't care who else is on it, but I'll take those two any day of the week.
That whole festival for a metalhead in the States, in my opinion, for what I know, and I might just have overlooked something, that might be the best metal festival that's ever played in this country. It had the feel of European festivals, being when you had Def Leppard, ZZ Top, Skynyrd, and all these other. It was all rock, and that was the thing too. I heard somebody complaining that you had Skynyrd after Slayer opening up for Skynyrd is the way they put it. And I said, you're damn right.
I mean, you hit on the head. What may be one of my favorite aspects of that thing is, like, to your point, and thank you for saying so. I loved it as well. But like, that's never existed in the history of time. Period. End of story. Slayer has not opened for Leonard Skynyrd. Like it, and it happened.
Yeah.
And now Slayer's gone, so that still happened.
Yeah, and exactly.
It's like, and it's pretty cool. It's like you were singing along to Slayer tunes, but then you end the night with fucking Freebird.
Yeah.
Like, if anybody was bitching about that, they shouldn't be at the festival.
That's what I told him. I was like, well, you got to understand, it was in Tennessee, either a southern crowd. Most metalheads from the South grew up listening to Leonard Skynyrd before they heard about Slayer.
That's right.
And then they loved Slayer for a long time and denied Skynyrd, embarrassed by him for a little while. And now you're older and you realize, actually, Skynyrd fucking owns, and this is the coolest thing ever.
That's right. That's right. I mean, you know, one of the mottos that came out of there, which was hilarious, was fucking Slayer. Like, anybody said that was fucking Slayer, like whether they played before or after. Like, if you go on the Facebook, on the Exit 111 fan page, which they're still psychotic about it, which is great, all they ever say is fucking Slayer. And I saw it the other day, somebody posted they got a fucking Slayer tattoo, of course, when they were in Tennessee visiting a friend. So it's like, you know, awesome. I mean, for me, you know, hopefully, again, I've been very blessed, and hopefully life will just let me create more of these things, because you can hear how excited I get just talking about it, let alone like working on it and actually like producing it and like getting it out there. Like, I mean, that kind of stuff is like, you know, it gives you chills just talking about it. So.
Do you enjoy the work or the actual, when the event has arrived and that's go time? Because the work, a lot of people don't realize this. When the show starts, the work doesn't stop for us. That's actually, now it's even more stressful. The work's going on. We just get to see people and smiling and enjoying the creation. But now it's a lot of stress is happening during the flow of it. But do you enjoy the actual, it's go time, or do you enjoy the journey throughout more?
Such a hard question, because I do enjoy both. I'm definitely a business dork, and there's like, you know, great example would be like whether I'm booking the bands or putting together the production team or whatever, each of them have their little like accomplishment to it, right? So it's like when you first put in the Slayer offer and the agent's like, it's a little low, and we're negotiating, going back and forth. And then when you win, that has an experience that someone else can't feel at the festival. All of us together can go watch Slayer's show, but not everybody can put in the multiple $100,000 offer that goes into Slayer, and have Slayer be one of their. So that play was Slayer's last festival ever.
But not just Tennessee show, but it was the last festival
it was
as
the last
well.
Festival ever. I'll have to go and I can double check the facts, but it was like last festival on the books because that was their last tour and all that.
Yeah, I remember. I knew it was billed as last Tennessee show.
I'm 98% sure it was like their actual last festival ever. And then I went to that last Madison Square Garden show. But anyways, getting back to your question a little bit, I enjoy both facts, both of them, because a lot of them too are not just that festival, but all the other festivals. It's squeezing a square peg into a round hole, right? So like every city is different, every plot of land is different, every whatever is like, I'll never forget when it was 2016 Shaky Knees. We were, and again, my dreams and aspirations were bigger than what should have been, but it's like the festival had been growing to that point. So I said, okay, we're going to have one part of it in Centennial Olympic Park and then another part over here by the arena, right?
Yeah.
And so we go to the police department in the city. I'm like, hey, I want to shut this street down for the show days so that people can just walk back and forth. And there was a new police chief at the time and all that kind of stuff. And their answer was no. And I was like, well, that's cool. I'll just build a bridge to go over it. And that's where like the shady bridge happened, where it's just like you learn to build bridges. So it's like, there's always a way to do it. There's always something different. And it's like that process is you can't see it coming. So it's like, it's pretty cool to work on at the end of the day. Hey, you can't have the street. Well, then I'll build a bridge and go over your street.
That's where it's fun to realize that this, hide and watch mentality that you have as your kid, people like us that grow up to this, that no, I don't like that answer. I'm not going to accept your no, and I'm going to substitute it with a real fucking answer.
Yeah.
And hell or high water, we'll figure this out. And people don't realize he took in downtown Atlanta, one of the busiest streets in the city, right next to Centennial Olympic Park, which is one of the biggest parks in the city and most popular. 40-foot container? How long was the container?
One of those. It was like those sea containers that are out on, ships.
Scaffolding, like stair systems up, containers walking across the street and built a fucking bridge. Yeah. It was, I don't think I walked through
it. Got to get people from A to B, right?
Yeah. So. No, it's always fun to me. That's what. I don't know myself either which one I like better, the show days themselves or the journey. But like, I don't think anyone who hasn't done it could understand what it's like as a talent buyer to put an offer in on something, go through that journey, and then and then pull the trigger. If
you had to force me to an answer, I'd say that the actual festival is like that one notch higher than the building of it, because the difference is you get to see the faces and the energy of the people smiling, right? So you can't see that when you're building it. So like, I may have come up with that solution of a bridge and that was a win for me, but the didn't see it, whereas like, you're standing on stage and you're looking out at the crowd.
At the end of the day, a pat on the back feels better than being alone.
Or like that feeling of everybody smiling and being geeked out and cheering for a band or whatever. That doesn't happen while I'm in my office sending an offer, right?
Right. So, it's a weird one.
So it's just a hair higher, probably.
I don't know. I think year to year it goes different for me. In the beginning, growing, I don't think I'm ever going to be at a point where and maybe you can add some light onto this. Have you ever been just flat out like, yep, I don't care if another person showed up. That's perfect. You always want more, don't you?
Yeah, 100%. You always want more.
You always want more.
You always want more, and you are always going to make mistakes, by the way. That always happens.
That's what it's about. It's about being able. How good can you adapt at juggling and putting out dumpster fires constantly? How well do you juggle that? That's what the market what I'm learning, being a good promoter, producer, and all that. That's what it is. It's you make a plan, and then you make plans for when that falls out, and then you hope.
That's right.
And then you hope that planning already there's answers there, and be ready to hit the drawing board too, because it's going to fall apart worse than that.
That's right.
And just
that's it.
Keep your head above water. Keep going, and build a bridge if you have to.
There you go. Build a bridge if you have to.
It's so much stuff that I with Slaughter Q that I've stolen from you.
Please, that's the way to do it.
It's mentality though. Like you said,
it's 100%. Trust me, I do it from other festivals. I mean, where all those things that came fruition for some of my stuff was the experiences that I had at others where like I saw one
Exactly,
thing
yeah.
work and not there. So it's like, I don't think the word stolen's bad at all.
Oh, I don't. Yeah, but I love the mentality of you were to go back on which it's. I tell people I take 10 tons of shit and put it in a 2-ton bag, and that's what. So it's like you said, you have the dirt bikes, the car shows, the circus. There's the best bands in the world. The food, the camping at the exit 111. That was such a good experience, and I really enjoy that, and that's the point of, like I said, juggling the thing, those accomplishments throughout, getting that in line and seeing it come together, and those days of working nonstop on the computer, and then laying in bed envisioning this circus and these dirt bikes jumping over the place. And then you show up and see them setting it all up, and you're like, holy shit. So, yeah.
And we're living for something. I mean, we're certainly not living for the weather. You know?
Yeah, hell no.
The weather fucks with all these things, but that's a whole nother discussion in itself.
All right, we've been going a little bit. We'll wrap it up here soon. I'm going to leave it with one last story about Exit 111, though. I didn't get to see you at all during the festival.
Yeah, because you're running around.
You're running around like a madman doing your thing. You took care of us VIP all the way. It was a fucking great time. But I did run into your lady, Allison, in the bars. I do not drink liquor anymore. Gave it up 5-6 years ago. It's not like too bad. I just either get too wild where I'm puking and stuff, or I want to surf on top of the roof of your car and let's do some Teen Wolf shit. So I figured let's wrap that up and just drink beer. When we get there and Allison's dumping out, getting shots for everybody. Hey, round them up. No, thanks, babe. I can't do it. Oh, don't be a wimp. Don't be a chicken. Don't be a pussy. Then Curtis and my old lady and Curtis's old lady, everybody starts harping on me. Do it. So I'm drinking tequila with your old lady and all these guys. Long story short, then we watched Power Trip. It was the first time I got to see them live. Been looking fucking amazing. Man, rest in peace, Riley. That's just such a shame. Then we move on through the night, and Brian McNamara is there. I'm drunk as can be at this point, realize it, and talk Def Leppard's on, and I've probably ruined the whole fucking Ghost and Def Leppard set for him. Because I didn't know telling what I said to him. Then I'm told we walked over to ZZ Top, and we're rocking out to ZZ Top, and I was going around accosting people, humming bass lines to them, telling them that you hear that fucking do motherfucker, it's amazing. And then I went to the sports bar by myself, and this is where browning out for me comes flashing in. You remember I broke my leg a couple years ago, so now I walk with a little bit of a limp.
Yeah.
I was cut off. One of your bartenders cut me off as I walked up and said, "Sir, you are too drunk."
I don't even know this story, so this is good.
Yeah, it's not good. Sir, you're cut off. You're drunk. And I was like, "Motherfucker, I'm crippled. I ain't drunk. You fucking cut me off." So I walked off. I went down to another bartender. Straightened it up. Get your eyebrows right and shit. Got a beer. And walked back past the other bartender. I was like, hey, you ain't here, motherfucker. And he said something smart aleck to me. And this is where I walked in, smacked his POS system off his bar, threw it, and just kept walking. Got back to our tents, puked all over the inside of my tent, got out of the tent, roundhouse that whole thing, puking in every corner, laying in. I feel sorry for the people camping next to us.
I hope you don't think you're going to get like a special star on your chest after this story or anything.
No, I just wanted you to know that your old lady always fucking gets me annihilated. And I told her I shouldn't be doing this.
Sounds about right.
I shouldn't be doing this. Right. And whoever that bartender was, I apologize. That's not normally my actions is not like that. I was drunk. I wasn't just a cripple. Yeah.
Hey. There you go.
Well, right on, Tim. You got any social info you want to give out? Anything like that?
Not really. I mean, you said it. I mean, you can Google most of the festivals if you're interested in festivals and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it'll all be down in the description at the bottom.
That's the best thing to look up. So,
well, brother, I thank you a million for doing this.
Pleasure.
Can't wait.
Always good to hang and talk.
Thanks for checking in on this. This is going to be the first of many Talking Shit with Sid. Brought to you by Sid Heil Presents. All that good shit. I'll figure out how to talk to y'all and sound cool as we go along. All right. Cheers, y'all. Thanks.
Cheers.
Killer. Yeah. I ain't said nothing.